Adult animation has been around for generations, especially with television and independent stuff. Your South Parks, your Hell of a Bosses, your Smiling Friends, your Scooby-Doo spin-offs that shall not be named, and so on and so forth. But then you have adult animated movies. These aren't exactly as common in today's climate of family-friendly films that kids can watch for the bright colors and the fun characters, while adults can watch them for the emotional damage. Not that we haven't had adult animated films before, they're just few and far between for modern mainstream media. Even fewer of them were fully computer animated or even get a theatrical release. Why? Because Hollywood studios see animation like how poor, gullible parents do, which is to say, stupid bunny tricks are for kids. Okay, I was gonna say something else, but you get the picture. However, one movie was gonna change all that. It would have been the first of its kind for CGI animated motion pictures to answer the question that plagued Gen Zers for over a year now. What if Vivzy Pop killed a dead meme? That movie was Sausage Party, a very strange and controversial kids film released in 2016, or at least strange in the sense that I thought this was gonna be a kids film because, you know, it's animated, and everyone knows that all animation is for kids, right?
The pipes are coming. Oh, Jesus, fuck!
Wait a minute, this is an adult movie? What the fuck? I took my kids to see Finding Dory for this. Yes, I've heard the horror stories, I've seen the truth.
So, you have learned the terrible truth.
This masterpiece of cinema was the love child of Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, who asked an age-old question heavily synonymous with Pixar films, but instead of asking the question of what if toys had feelings, or what if feelings had feelings, or what if Canadians had feelings, they asked what if food had feelings. Just as quickly though, they answered it with, and I quote, "That would be really up." And I don't think I need to tell you why. You see, the joke is that this is a food, you see. You're supposed to put it in your mouth. As great as this idea was for an R-rated comedy, it wasn't an easy movie for them to get off the ground until Sony and Annapurna Pictures stepped in to fund the project in 2013. And after some, minor setbacks, the film made its theatrical debut in the summer of 2016 to mixed reviews. To this day, it remains an extremely divisive movie for many. Whether you see people praise it or view it the same way they view a Vietnam flashback, it's all over the place. But was it really that bad? Was it really worth calling a goddamn god-awful adult humor penis hell? What? Well, only one way to find out, I guess. Hope you got some snacks with you to torture yourself because, yeah, I guess this is a movie. This is one of the movies I'm gonna watch. Let's do this.
Wiener, 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 next to another wiener.
The movie starts off in a supermarket where all the food items sing a Disney-style song about being chosen for the great beyond in belief that the humans are gods who will take them to live a life of eternal bliss without any problems whatsoever. Of course, the irony is that unbeknownst to food, they'll actually end up in my belly. We're introduced to Frank, the hot dog played by Seth Rogen, his girlfriend played by Lucy from Despicable Me, and his buddies like Jonah Hill and Richard Grayson, but the other orphans call him Dick. Children can be cruel. For some reason, they all live in the same aisle as these hot dog buns instead of a refrigerator. No wonder these guys were sent to the Shadow Realm, but how else would they establish that the hot dogs and buns are a euphemism for the penis and the vagina? Do you think that's funny, butthead? We even get a scene where they literally talk about raw dogging each other, as if it's a Rule 34 comment section. Don't ask how I know that, just to take my word for it.
Hey, I'm not gonna be any better. I've never opened up. I mean, look how tight I am.
Tight, yeah.
A jar of honey mustard is returned, and he's suffering from some serious PTSD from witnessing the horrors of My Little Pony figures in mason jars. After that, Seth Rogen and his bun lover become chosen by the second best Pixar mom, and it's here we see that it's not just food that's alive, but healthcare products too, like this talking douche played by the one and only Nick Kroll, aka Big Mouth.
Somebody call a doctor, 'cause honestly, this baby is sick. Nacho Del Amorte, you fucking bitch.
Also, you know how these characters have regular ass names like Frank, Brenda, Carl, or Michael Cera? Well, this guy's name is just Douche. So named Douche because, well, he's an asshole. She picks up Danny McMustard, which leads him to telling everyone that the great beyond is bullshit.
Everything we've ever known is a dirt-covered pile of shit.
up in our f***ing faces.
Ah, you see, I told you his PTSD had something to do with jars. He jumps off the shopping cart and then dies, causing a Saving Private Ryan reference to happen, which, I'll admit, was actually kind of funny, mainly for the visual of seeing all these food items just die, like this Oreo losing half of his body. Honestly, when it isn't just swearing and sex jokes, the film can get pretty creative with its humor and actually makes decent use of the food puns. Well, I'll accept this cringe-ass running gag where Nick Kroll is all like,
How you like that map?
Who, us?
No, not you.
Light bulb.
Yes? No, not fucking you, dummy. Spill the beans!
Eh?
Okay, so... fucking stretching, you know it, Queso!
everyone runs for their lives as this MILF casually leaves a mess of unpaid grocery items on the ground.
Wait up at aisle 2. This milk dropped a douche.
Oh, so they acknowledge it. Well, I said this exact same thing to Dexter's mom, and I got a restraining order. After she leaves, Big Mouth here gets pissed at Frank and Brenda for his broken nozzle. He tries to kick their asses, but gets trashed and banished to the back rooms instead. Now our main leads are lost, and they end up meeting some wacky new characters on their little journey, like this Jewish bagel at odds with a tortilla who's Middle Eastern. Okay.
I am to have 77 bottles of extra virgin olive oil waiting for me.
Hold up.
This was a very well-timed movie. Apparently all the characters in this movie are like racial caricatures, as if the opening song wasn't enough.
We'll exterminate the Jews.
Oh.
I am Adolf Hitler.
They blame Frank for all this bullshit and they start heading back to their aisles. Meanwhile, Big Mouth Dude is in the back rooms with an existential crisis. This is until he sees a juice box, proceeding to, I cannot show this on YouTube. I get it's just a guy drinking a juice box to death, but actually, no, you know what? This whole thing should be self-explanatory. Elsewhere, the gang arrives at the Reddit aisle, where all the residents are drunk and having a party. You see, it's because they're alcohol beverages. That's the joke. That's why they're drunk. That's very funny, very clever. Frank finds a cave, and we're further introduced to Firewater, who is a character we saw 10 minutes ago, don't you know? He's also the best character in the movie, IMO, solely for Bill Hader putting on a voice. Sure, he's yet another outdated stereotype, but I don't know, I got a few chuckles just from hearing Flint Lockwood rant about crackers. We also see some other characters, like this Twinkie that looks like Joe Biden, and Mr. Grits, played by Mr. Shark from The Bad Guys.
I'ma f them crackers right in the crack of they cracker ass.
Oh, and they try to kill Frank, but spare his life, I guess. Courtesy of his curiosity, however, they'll have no other choice but to tell him what really happens in the great beyond. But first, some weed, courtesy of Seth Rogen.
12 seconds later.
Brenda starts questioning her purity after Frank's taking too long or some shit. Then this bottle of tequila takes her and company to the Mexican aisle. He tells him to stay in the bar, but don't worry guys, this is totally not a trap that was set up by Uncle Fester to get his revenge or anything. I mean, just listen to how this guy talks and tell me he can't be trusted.
You go over there and you stay at the bar right there, okay? You can't move a muscle, okay?
Luckily for them, we're introduced to yet another wacky new character, this taco woman. I forgot her name, but I do know for certain that she's absolutely down bad for Brenda's sweet buns.
Like, what is she? A lesbian? I have no words for her. And I don't even want to talk about the word lesbian.
Oh, Larry, you're you're a fucking asshole.
She helps them escape from Professor Poopy Pants right before he brutally murders a dude.
Right in my quacking balls.
The cords holding the testicles can get twisted, cutting off blood supply to your balls.
Back with Frank, smoking a fat one from a kazoo, Firewater reveals that the great beyond really is Boulder Dash, as it was invented to mask the truth that food everywhere will be chosen for mukbang content instead of a life of eternal paradise. Just ignore the fact that most grocery items are returned every day and assholes tend to wreck shit up in a store, further creating panic for the food. But I guess Danny McMustard was the only one to be returned and this just never happens.
So you're telling me you wrote the song?
No, you silly sausage. Alan Menken wrote the song, I shit you not. The song that constantly gets rewritten to fit with the aisle's respective views, as this is a movie about organized religion after all. And nothing says organized religion like homophobia and Adolf Hitler. As the truth would dictate, we follow it up with that famous scene from the Red Band trailer, where everyone's in the kitchen, they're all super happy to be there, yay, until they see a potato get peeled and boiled alive, and it all all goes down to hell in a food basket. This food murder scene kind of made me hungry, I'ma be real. The wieners try to escape the delicious massacre, but the thick mommy, for some reason, plays with her food like a blatant serial killer. After this, it's unfortunately the last we ever see of this lady's mighty fine package of Carl. Rest in spaghetti. We transition back to the others, talking about God, I guess.
Hello. Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ?
Until they get caught in 4K by Nick Kroll. She rips off his bandage and then a chase scene happens. She gets her fat ass stuck in the shelves, but they pull her out in the nick of time, thus escaping. And the taco lady briefly stares at her. Peaches, 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 I love you. Poor little Barry gets lost and surrounded by a bunch of rotting corpses, including this used condom? Okay, that's disturbing. Hey, that's not a food. He stows away in some druggie's bag, and we're back to Frank and Brenda. Yay, they're together again, but not for too long because of their beliefs. You see, Frank was told by Joe Biden that proof of the awful truth is in the dark aisle. This leads them to argue about religion, or whatever. Then she talks about this.
I'll fill myself with a parsnip or a dill pickle.
Oh, I see. She's gonna cheat on him with Pickle Rick. They break up, and it's meant to be sad, even though they spent most of the movie separated, and the only chemistry they had was, well, you know, meatloaf. Just meatloaf. Literally meatloaf. Very clever. We're now at this house where the song from Reservoir Dogs plays to the side of James Franco shooting up bath salts. Under the influence, he ends up tweaking and peeking and freaking the fuck out. He sees Barry come alive, he sees his pizza come alive, and even sees my toilet paper come alive. Oh no. We're back at the store, and the gang finally make it back to their aisles. They part ways, and they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe you're not so bad after all. Despite how little these characters interacted aside from just being assholes to one another, this is just so they can make their reunion in the climax feel warranted, but no matter how much they try, they'll never convince me that this taco isn't getting it in the end, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Back with Scott Pilgrim Wiener, we're introduced to a new character with 30 minutes of the film left. Gum, who's just like that Stephen Hawking fellow. Okay, just as I was editing this bit, I literally just found out that they just deepfaked Scott Pilgrim's face onto a hot dog. This is amazing. I literally just found this out. This has to be intentional. I mean, they literally share the same voice actor, for fuck's sake. He locates the store right before James Franco sobers from his drug high and gets the munchies. Meanwhile, Frank makes it to a poorly designed utensil aisle where he sees a cookbook, which is just like George Orwell's book, 1984, but for food, as proven by Frank being horrified at the sight of these ugly fuckers stuffing their faces. We later see the bagel and tortilla split up to their suspiciously topical aisles. And again, it's supposed to suck that they're parting ways, but like, I've seen this movie more times than any sane human should, which is more than once, provided, and I still can't for the life of me tell you what these two saw in each other. Aside from the fact they like hummus, so there's that.
Wait a minute, you know hummus?
Know him? I'm gonna go so far as to say I consider hummus one of my dearest friends.
Friendship is a sacred floater, a chemotherapeutic bond.
Frank tries to warn everyone with this very conveniently placed security camera that looks like that one Walmart baby meme, but even after showing visual evidence of their demise, no one believes him. Personally, I call bullshit on this because I don't know how you can be a living food item and not raise an eyebrow at this bag of frozen produce being the result of the cold genocide of these individuals with the intent of making a deliciously refreshing smoothie. Now that I say that, is this jar of relish conscious of the fact that he's made from the chopped up remains of pickles? We know that peppers are living beings in this universe, but do they not question why their brethren are sliced up and stuffed in these living jars? There's tomatoes, and ketchup is right there. Cutting bread is considered murder, but sandwiches are alive. Would sliced bread already be dead? Also, sandwiches can be made from anything. Meat, cheese, peanut butter, and jam, those are alive. Pizza's alive too, and it's made from multiple ingredients. Hot dogs are alive, those things are made of practically any ground up meat. Even bacon's alive. Pigs were already alive, so is the bacon its afterlife? Does the life of a meat product begin with the animal's life ending, just to be put in packaging? Wait, so if the package for hot dogs and buns are inanimate, how can bags of chips have sentience instead of the chips? What about these nachos? They're alive. Is the bag alive too? Should I feel bad about opening the bag or eating the chips? Same with boxes. Most of them are alive, but not the food. Except this packet of mints releases his actual mints And there's a box of crackers with happy little crackers. Do they just count as parasites or their unborn offspring? I can forgive cans and bottles having the beverage as their blood, but what's with noodles in a can being portrayed as intestines? That implies that food have digestive tracts, meaning that food can eat food? They can do drugs, so wait, why aren't the drugs alive? Douches can have a soul, yet drugs can't? How do I know that these guys aren't smoking this weed to death? Are bath salts just second-class citizens? And why stop at foods and condoms and douches being alive when literally anything can be alive? Like this guy's couch and table. Get some Pee-wee's Playhouse action up in this bitch. How does this world function? What are these rules? Answer me, Seth Rogen. This world building is driving me to madness. Fucking madness, I tell you. When will the question stop? When will it happen? Guys, I think this movie broke me. Perhaps old Seth Rogen doesn't want me to think too hard about this whole thing and just enjoy the funny swearing hot dog running as fast as he can, but it's too late. His bun lover becomes chosen. Game over, man, game over. But don't feel too bad because somehow Barry returned and he brings a special surprise. He has the best head. Yeah, I'm definitely going to hell for that one. It's down the hall to the left. Yep, he killed the guy. Just don't ask how he was strong enough to drag a decapitated head through the ventilation system. None of that matters, viewer. The real meat and potatoes is when they decide to destroy all humans with the help of a random assortment of animated, inanimate objects. They achieve this by shooting drug-laced toothpicks at random customers just trying to eat, man. The economy's bad enough that the food's probably expensive as ass. Even worse if the food tastes like shit.
Bro, I'm sorry, that's trash.
The drugs begin to take hold, and this one person reacts very normally to seeing her food come alive. She screws off, but then they stop her from leaving the store, and hooray, they've reunited. He can finally get up in there. He gives a more constructive speech about putting aside their religious differences in order to rise against the human scum, right before they also react normally to seeing them come alive. This, in turn, leads them to retaliate by killing the first Discord moderator they see. This continues with everyone beating the shit out of the humans, as if obesity rates didn't skyrocket enough. I mean, just look at how many calories this one pack of hot dogs has. Jesus Christ. Scott Lang here is unable to process this, and hey look, it's Big Mouth. Remember him? He was kind of shoehorned in, but here he is. He was a character in this. After draining the essence of every beverage he sees, the next best thing he does is pull a reverse ratatouille on his ass. Oh no. And controls him like a mech suit, wrecking shit up. Everyone starts attacking Scott Lang, but the douche grabs Frank by his wiener. Get it? Then the crazy bastard takes a massive bite out of him. Holy shit, this means food can eat foods as well. What kind of sick cannibalistic world are you creating, Seth? Surely this movie can't get any weirder than this. Surely. A Terminator reference happens because why not? Then Brenda saves Frank right after Barry uses a makeshift rocket trolley to send these fuckers into the stratosphere. Happy American Thanksgiving, everyone.
Ew.
No comment. The victory is won, the humans are dead, and the glizzy finally gets busy. This begins that infamous scene where everyone... Look, you knew this would happen, I knew this would happen. It probably took about 20 years off our lifespan, so let's just say that this eyes wide shut type shit is why Twitter had another field day. Believe it or not though, one mind f***s another. That's disgusting, because Firewater, while in his Hunter S. Thompson phase, drops the ultimate reveal.
The world is a fucking illusion, bro! There's something called... cartoons.
Yep, they were works of fiction this whole time. We can all calm down about the food orgy, guys. It's just a drawing.
You, Frank, were the plaything of a demented, schlubby Jewish actor named Seth Rogen.
Do you think they were too scared to reveal that Bill Hader voiced a Native American and 2 Mexicans? To make this fever dream last longer, Gum somehow invents a portal to the real world so he can cut the strings or something, and the movie finally ends with Frank approaching the Stargate, doing the thing we should all be doing after watching this nightmare.
What the hell was that?
So yeah, This is a naughty movie.
Naughty, naughty.
That being said, I can say with full confidence that I still have no idea what to think of it, to be honest. There's just as much stuff about it that I can't stand as there are things that I do genuinely love about it. For starters, the animation in this film is weirdly really good. Like, it doesn't match the same quality of other CGI films, but for a film that costed less than the Five Nights at Freddy's movie to make, the animators really cooked with this one. Yes, that pun was intended, and if you don't like it, go fuck yourself, San Diego. It's got some creative designs, and I really like that it mimics the classic style of an old cartoon with their little shoes, white gloves, squash and stretch, what have you. And I think the animation team did a fantastic job at trying to bring this entire film to life. Sadly, none of that matters in the pursuit of money, as the animators of the movie were paid less than a box of Twinkies to make it, which probably explains the low budget, to be honest. I mean, how else were they able to afford a cast more stacked than Garnet from Steven Universe? As well, I really do like the religious allegory presented. It especially fits perfectly with the concept of food items seeing humans as some form of higher beings, only to find out that a kitchen is basically a living hell for them, and humans are everything but gods. But from our perspective, bro, I'm hungry, stop judging me. This is all I have in the fridge, for God's sake. It's contemplating suicide. Okay, what else did I like? The performances are good. I respect that the film's not afraid to get batshit insane at points, excluding the ending. And I kind of like the booze bottle guy. He was funny. And this is the part where I say something bad. This movie has some really bad pacing problems where it goes way too fast, so not enough time is spent on giving these characters a personality beyond just being racial allegories. And if I'm being honest, the movie's not that funny, and that's coming from me. For every joke that hits, there's always a lot of them that unfortunately miss. The movie's pretty heavily reliant on shock value, if you can even call it shocking, since the movie tries to paint these foods as being pure religious figures, yet all of them talk like they're on Discord. I feel like there were some missed opportunities for comedic subversion here. Like, maybe start the first 5 or so minutes as an innocent little family film where everyone expresses their beliefs in a positive light, and it's when the Saving Private Ryan reference happens do they start swearing and saying a bunch of nasty shit reflecting on their new perspective on the world. Not only would it give more shock to its value seeing these cutesy characters become progressively vulgar, but it'd greatly benefit the religious undertones, now that these characters can distinguish their own beliefs versus harsh reality. Yeah, I'd trick more parents into seeing this with a child, but god damn it, that would have been great. But of course, they had to hammer in as much as possible that this is not a children's film, as if the title wasn't enough of an obvious dick innuendo. Pretty much every line of dialogue has to include a swear word to be funny. Occasionally it gets a chuckle from me, maybe even a tiny laugh. But the more the movie progresses with this raunchiness, the more the novelty of swearing food wears off. That being said, I really do like raunchy humor. Dare I say, love it? I like South Park, and before you ask, yes, I had a Vivzy Pop phase, and also yes, I have put shame upon myself making this confession. Raunchy comedy is great, so long as it has a purpose, and most importantly, is funny. This movie can be funny, but for the most part, it thinks just having a character say fuck for 90 minutes is funny. It prioritizes shock value over substance. Or however you fancy reviewers say it. I mean, what do I know? I'm literally just a 21-year-old who sits on his ass watching random reels scrolling through endless feeds all day. Surprisingly enough, all that dirty work actually paid off in the end, as Sausage Party managed to rake in about $141 million at the worldwide box office, which, not gonna lie, probably came from the millions of confused parents thinking this was a kid's film. While its pocket change compared to other films at the time, it was still pretty successful considering its $19 million budget. This would eventually lead to a TV series sequel on Amazon Prime 8 years later. The same corporation that teamed up with Mr. Beast just to be sued, and on the same service where you can stream Invincible and Has-Been Hotel, you can watch Sausage Party Foodtopia. Wait, what do you mean you haven't heard of this show until now? Is it okay if I join you? The show starts off not with Frank and friends entering the real world like the first film implied, but leading a revolution against all of humanity, and proclaiming their newfound land as Foodtopia, where everyone lives in harmony. They have another food orgy until God tries to kill everyone Noah's Ark style, and now their food society already starts crumbling as they discover human politics, complete with its own presidential elections. Wow, how topical. Oh, and spoiler alert, Frank gets freaky with a human. That's another 2 decades off my life. I was gonna clock out after episode 1, and then I caved in and watched the rest of the show, as if my already corrupted brain didn't corrupt itself witnessing the horrors of episode 6. But if you can believe it, ignoring that episode and all the political crap, the show is shockingly really boring and forgettable. It yet again tries to be edgy for the sake of it, but this time they mix in jokes about real-life politics with god-awful food puns. Half the cast from the movie are either killed off or completely erased from existence, and you can clearly see that they were given a way lower budget than the movie in terms of animation. If there's one thing to be thankful for in regards to this show existing, is at least the animators were compensated fairly, and it relieves me that they're still doing okay, especially in today's climate of animation where a bunch of people are being laid off from their jobs. Not pointing any names here. I'ma be real, they're easily the best characters in the show. Props to them. Other than that, I could care less about it. Don't expect me to make a second video on this franchise when season 2 comes out and it ends up gaining more traction on the internet before inevitably being forgotten yet again within less than a month's time. Shit, I've already forgotten about most of the show in less than a month's time, so that should speak volumes. So yeah, the show's not good, and I have nothing else to say. I think we're supposed to end the video now. Overall, Sausage Party, both as a film and a franchise, confuses me. It confuses me in the sense that I want to enjoy it, and to some degree, I do. I more appreciate it for just being an ambitious attempt to broaden the film medium of animation. Like, I'm just gonna say it, I doubt we'll ever get another animated film where a healthcare gadget shoves himself up a man's Hershey highway ever again. It's just that there's so much left to be desired for me. Say what you want about good old Seth Rogen, but for all his faults, the man can still do some good shit, and I'm in the belief that this had so much potential. It could have been a good, perhaps great film, with hints of creativity beyond its novelty. I suppose it's mildly enjoyable if you're high or looking for dumb fun, but otherwise it's just kind of whatever. It's a fine film at best, and wasted potential at worst. If there's one thing to end this video on, it's a very important lesson this film has taught me, and I'm sure many others who saw it. Never ask a man his salary. Never ask a woman her age. And for the love of God, never ask anyone what happened at the end of Sausage Party 2016. On a final note, do not watch Sausage Party Foodtopia Season 1 Episode 6, it'll fuck you up for life. Wiener, wiener, wiener.